Welcome to our broadcast. This is your host, Michael Lange. I'm here with Tunde Okorodudu, former Nigerian state candidate for the Delta State, Nigeria, current chairman of the Ebrohimi Town Elders Council, Wateri, Delta State, Nigeria. Um, Tunde, you've been with us many times, and you don't look a day older from the last time we had a chance to talk. But how you been doing?
I'm fine, thank you. As you can see, I'm a member of the Elders Council. Actually, I'm the chairman. I'm 61 years old right now, and I'm grateful to God to keep me in good health. As you know, I always travel back and forth from Nigeria and here since my retirement from Alameda County Social Service Department, where I was a social worker and also president of the Service Employees International Union for Alameda County chapter, the Civil Service Union. So I'm delighted to be here with you. I'm glad to see you, and you look good, brother.
Okay, well, I got 61 years also, so
Oh,
so
congratulations.
yeah. We're twins here. That's a beautiful thing. And now your travels back and forth between the continents, between North America and Africa. That drive, where does that drive come from? I mean, in terms of you needing to know that I got to go back home, but I got to go back to the Americas and be with my brothers and kind of update them. What's driving that for you?
Michael, you know me from over 20 years ago when I've been here. I stayed in the United States for over 35 years. And ever since my stay here, I've always had one motivation to represent the good image of black people, Africa and Africans in the diaspora, and our brothers and sisters here. The drive that takes me back and forth home definitely is that fight for justice and human rights. As a human rights activist, as a political science activist, as a pro-democracy activist for democracy in Nigeria, you can recall that I was instrumental among those who fought for installment of democracy in Nigeria when we had a military tyrant regime for many years and stood up and challenged it, where Oakland and Berkeley, Alameda County, and several other cities here, through our effort, passed stringent economic sanction against the brutal military regime at that time in Nigeria. Now we have a democracy in Nigeria. However, it's not a healthy democracy. I am going back and forth to put pressure on the government so that they can do the right thing and take care of the Nigerian people. As you just said, I'm from the Niger Delta, Nigerian Delta area. I ran for Senate there in 2003. Of course, I won the election, but they did the George Bush system on me. And, turn it around and give it to the ruling party member who up till now have not even said a word in reference to what's going on in the Niger Delta. As a matter of fact, the current senator from my senatorial district sits on the chairmanship of the Niger Delta Senate committee in the Senate. However, I don't hear a strong advocacy for the redemption of the Niger Delta. Niger Delta is just like imagining Kuwait, imagining Dubai, an industrial city where oil is being drilled, but the people there lives in abject poverty. The roads are bad, waters are polluted with Chevron and Shell oil companies, and they don't redeem and help the people to really rebuild their land. That's why I even got involved in the Elders Council of my community, where my grandfather's land is an oil drilling land by Chevron. So that's where I'm tackling right now.
That's a beautiful, courageous stance that you're taking. And of course, I imagine that the democracy that we see here in America, that the democracy in Nigeria is probably got a different flavor to it. And I wanted to ask you, what has been happening in Nigeria, particularly with the president of Nigeria being ill for the last 3 months? Is it a stable government, and what type of democracy, or how might it differ than American democracy?
Well, Michael, thanks. That's a good question. It's not differ in constitutional procedure. The Nigerian democracy is basically patterned and copied with the American democratic system. So we do have three arms of government: the legislative arms, the executive arms, and the judicial arms, just like in the United States. We have a constitution, the 1999 Constitution. The issue of the presidency being sick and the vice president being his running mate from the same party, not being able to take over to at least act in the position of president for almost 3 months before the Senate was finally pushed to act, to pass legislation that will empower the vice president to act so that he can make decisions on behalf of the country. Our president has been taken away for over 2.5 months to 3 months. Then he was in Saudi Arabia. Nobody can see him. I mean, you can imagine if George Bush or Clinton and even of Obama is in the hospital, the doctor is going to come out immediately after the admission and say, this is his status. He's fine. Sometimes Obama might even speak to the nation that I'm fine. Dick Cheney just got out of the hospital for heart attack symptoms. He's fine. Everybody sees we know who he is. We know where he is. Our own president is in hiding because some cabals who wants to hold on to power for their own selfish end put the whole of the nation of Nigeria at hostage. But because of the pro-democracy movement led by people like Professor Wole Soyinka, who led a big rally in Nigerian capital Abuja to demonstrate our demand to install the vice president as president, and those of us in the international diaspora in America, England, and everywhere else call for rallies to bring this attention to the United States government. Then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton made a statement in reference to Nigeria adhering to Constitution and pushing for the swearing of the vice president. You can see again, we have to put pressure before anything is done. Do you know that as of this week, the president was flown into Nigeria secretly in an ambulance, yet they will not even let the vice president talk to him. And he's acting in that capacity. He should be able to know the status and the health of his own leader. Somebody is trying to do something that will make the country divide. We're trying to protect the country from dividing. But we in the Niger Delta are sick and tired of the cabals from the north trying to hijack power in their own interest. Nigeria belongs to all of us. We want to make it like that, not to some few cliques. The same way the colonial leaders installed them in power a long time ago, they still want to maintain that status quo. Nigeria has got to change.
So yeah, what we see here happening then is that there's more to the illness than meets the eye. That is, the general public may never find out why he's in hiding. But the corporate power structure is using this divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. And so I guess my question is what would be the next move that one could put pressure to expose this this type of activity that's going on right now?
Well, I want to commend President Barack Obama. He has already made a statement this week on behalf of the United States government, and the British government have also called for restraint, and the president, being ill, should stay and take care of himself and allow the vice president to act in full capacity and move the nation forward instead of destabilizing, stagnant, and destability, because all this kind of things is now engineering the military government, military officers who are hungry for power to start thinking about planning a coup d'etat. We don't want a coup d'etat in Nigeria. We want democracy to flow and the rule of law to flow so that the vice president take over. If the president get well, the vice president, I'm sure he has the honor to step aside and allow the president to lead. But Nigeria must have a leader at every minute, every second of the day. It's a constitutional requirement. Section 145 of the Nigerian Constitution demand that there must be a sitting president. And if the previous president is ill, the Senate and the executive arm must be informed, and they have to decide on making the vice president to act in this capacity so that the nation will have a spokesperson on his behalf. The next subject we're even going to talk about is the reference to the terrorist issue that was going on in Nigeria. Could you imagine that we didn't even have someone to speak on our behalf when one single act of a terrorist young fellow took a plane from Amsterdam to the United States in Detroit and was found with making weapons to blow up a plane?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an unfortunate incident. First of all, I want to apologize to all fellow Americans and people of the world. Nigerian nation is not a terrorist nation. We are love-kinding people. We are very kind. We are friendly. This is an individual, disgruntled young lady who was spoiled with money. His father is so rich, the chairman of a bank, and this guy never stayed in Nigeria for even up to 1 year. He went to high school in Togo, in a private school. He left Togo to Britain, where he did his university career, staying in a flamboyant $1 million house. He had nothing to do. He never worked in his life. He was influenced by the Islamic movement in England, not even in Nigeria. Because we don't promote those kind of things. Violence and destruction is not our agenda. Even though we have some skirmish within the Muslim movement, not to the extent of committing terrorism. Nigerians don't want to commit suicide. We believe in living.
Yeah, we believe in living in. What are the issues, the big issues, the top 2 or 3 issues that Nigeria is facing? We know that it's the largest African nation, and it has a oil reserve that is one of the largest in the world. Are those issues that the corporate power structure is trying to navigate, manipulate?
Oh, you're very perfect on that question. You know the colonial regime of England now taken over by the United States oil corporate bodies like Chevron. Chevron is drilling in my own hometown. Have a tank farm there drilling, and what they do is use a Machiavellian divide and conquer. They use some of our own cousins, give them money
Yeah.
to destabilize the elders, the youths, the women of the community. They give them little money, say, oh, we're going to give you money to develop your community. But behind the closed door, they say, that's your money, that's your pay. You go and build your nice house somewhere, buy you a SUV, book hotel with women and everything, while the people in the community live in abject poverty. So these are the kind of people, my own cousins, some of them, I'm taking to court now and challenging Chevron and Shell Oil that these people are bad. For 21 years, they made no accountability to the community. We are the elders. The elders are the custodian of every community anywhere in the world.
That's right.
That power, that right cannot be taken from us, but it's earned by God's wisdom. So we demand that things have to be done right. The oil companies should not be talking to young and corrupt individuals. They should talk to the elders of the community who has a responsibility of making sure they maintain their community, develop their community, and hand over to the younger ones so that there will be continuity. And that's why I said charity begins at home. If I'm going to run for the Senate, fight for Nigeria, fight for Africa, fight for the diaspora, I got to go and take care of my own home village. And when I came home, I'm grateful to my elders, my brothers and uncles, and some of them even older than me. They said, Tunde, we want you as a chairman. I said, oh, uncles, I know I'm old, I'm in that category, but I honor our culture demands respect that the older person should lead the council. They put an older brother of ours in the council. Within 6 months, he has an unquestionable character now that makes him look like he's been bought out, because he's trying to have a leadership that will negotiate with them. They buy him out, but they know they can't buy me out.
That's what I'm going to ask you about. There is no price on your head other than justice and peace among all of the Nigerians. And if the elders could somehow get on the same page against the corporate power structure. But tell me, what price could somebody come to you with if they could?
Oh, we're talking about millions of dollars. Michael, if I wanted to be corrupted with millions of dollars, I would have been bought a long time ago. I'm not a materialist. I believe in freedom and justice. And some people are born and carved out for such a mission. This is a calling I'm responding to. It's not within my own powers. It's by the power of the divine that gave me that, courage to stand
up. You're not
up.
Afraid of anything.
I'm not afraid. Martin Luther King fought for me to live in this country for many years. Malcolm X even died. Mandela sacrificed 27 years. At least I'm not in prison yet. At least I made 60. I'm not afraid. And I stood up not to be afraid, because they said there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Cowards die 100 times before their death. I refuse to die before my death. I'm going to stand up for what is right.
Yeah, that's a beautiful mantra. That's a good sense of feeling. So how is it that the abject poverty is a big issue right now, but we still see the pipelines going into the ground around all of this, this largesse, this great amount of oil? How come it can't filter to the villages?
Well, the whole thing goes back to the connivance with the oil company, the Chevron, Shell, and major oil companies, French companies, with the federal government of Nigeria. The federal government is playing games with the Niger Delta people. The oil of Nigeria basically 90% of it comes from the area of the Niger Delta.
Which is the area that you're from?
That actually my own area. My senatorial district is one of the major producing oil in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Give us a kind of an overview of how big is the Niger Delta?
The Niger Delta is as huge as, I'll say, California.
What?
Yeah. It's a big region, but because of the undevelopment, not even developed, you can't see anything but swamps and mangroves. You know, it breeded, you know, the people we can consider militants who are revolutionaries who said, wait a minute, we can't just sit down and fold our arms for the past 50 years while they're drilling our oil, siphoning the money, sharing it in the northern part of the country, building high-rise on skyscrapers. The Niger Delta, there's nowhere in the Niger Delta that even have a 10-story building. When you go to Dubai, you see 50-story buildings. You see downtown, beautiful cities. We don't have anything like that. My struggle is now to go back home, which I am there, although I go back and forth because I do have my children here. I worked here and retired, but I go back and forth. I have time to focus on trying to do something for my people in my village. Then it could be a blueprint of what we can say we did on behalf of our village, and we are going to do it for Nigeria, because Obama came from Chicago. He was an activist there in Chicago, community activist, doing things in his own community. I've gone back to my own community there now, became part of the elders there to move a movement that will develop the area, and it becomes a blueprint for the whole of the Niger Delta and for Nigeria as a whole. But we demand that they should allow the president, the acting president right now, who happens to be from the Niger Delta, to allow him to do his job, to be able to implement the Niger Delta Technical Committee report, which was orchestrated by the sick president. Now, if you put some people in a committee to create a report and recommendations, your job is to implement those recommendations. Yet, the recommendation is for development. They don't want to develop, so they don't want to implement it. They think that if you help them, develop them, they'll ask for more. Of course we're going to ask for more. We demand 50% of the oil produced in the Niger Delta. The federal government could pay we can pay them the taxes of the other 50%, but 50% of the money must be used for the development of the Niger Delta.
So now I want to get to we only have a few more minutes left, but down the road, how do you see it developing? What possible outcomes could there be given the corporate status, the way they're heading right now? They probably want to own every blade of grass. How do you push them back from that? Do you see that as a possible solution?
Oh, yes. Mike, I'm glad to tell you again that because of my international human rights activities, about 6 months ago, I was representing Nigeria here at the Chevron board meeting in San Ramon, where I was even provided a proxy to attend the shareholders board meeting and address the board and let them know what is going on in the Niger Delta. Believe it or not, if you can target them, being able to infiltrate their inside, which they were surprised to see me on the inside, while people were picketing on the outside. Activists like us who own shares, sympathizers of the struggle, gave us proxy to represent their share legally with the power of attorney. I went inside with few other activists to address the shareholders board and the executive director, CEO of the board, and tell them that Niger Delta demand development, demand attention. And at that time, the militants were taking arms and fighting the federal government. I said they should negotiate for a ceasefire. Believe me, action was done. Within a month, there was some kind of negotiation. Nobody's going to give me credit for that now, but I know I contributed towards the ceasefire that went between the federal government and the militants. They now lay down their arms. They promised them that development will take place. We are demanding that implementation should be done right away.
So let me just ask this last question now. This Elders Council that you're a part of in the Ibrahimi town, and I wanted to ask, what contact do you have? I mean, do you have to go there every 3 months, every 6 months?
Oh yes, like I said, I'm retired. I spent my time back and forth, 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months here, 3 months there. So I have time to share for development of my town. Of course, I still have my brothers and sisters here who I have to update with what's going on and get their support, like you,
Yes.
Jimmy Guy, and many other of my Pan-African friends.
So there's things that we can do to help you.
Yes.
Okay.
What you can do is I'm asking the people, the audience, to call or write the President of the United States. He's an African.
Yes.
His father is from Kenya.
Yes.
And we know that he has passion and pains
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
development of Africa. He needs to put all those African leaders to order and tell them their time is up. We need responsible leadership. Just like he's taking leadership here against the Republicans and is trying to bring health care to Americans. Africans don't even have health care. We don't have welfare. We don't have anything. If you're sick, if your parents don't have money, you die. The president cannot even go to his own country's hospital. You have to be flown abroad. Build good hospitals in Nigeria for the Nigerian people, so that you yourself don't have to be flown abroad. So only rich men can be flown abroad for treatment. Everybody should be treated the same way. Health is a human right.
Yeah. Now this is a the corporate greed, though. I mean, it seems that these earthquakes that are happening, some of these things seem to be nature, but they seem to be in the areas where there's critical resources.
Well, it's question mark. One just happened today,
That's
and in Haiti it happened.
Yeah.
The other day I went to a channel they call HAARP HAP. It's a YouTube channel, and I saw some things that was amazing. I mean, people like former governor of Jesse Ventura of Minnesota was saying that earthquake can be created
Yes.
and waves could be sent to certain area targeted. So I'm beginning to question conspiracy in most things. They say Japan one time complained about earthquake being created in their area. Another one has been created, happened just 2 days ago. Haiti. Look at all the brothers and sisters that died in Haiti, over 200,000. Those are my brothers. Do you know that most people from Haiti came from Nigeria?
What? Because
They came from Benin. Benin was part of Nigeria, which was demarcated by the division of French and English. They are our own direct brothers and sisters. And my pain goes for them, but we know that everything that is going on, God is watching, is going to be unfolded. Those behind it will be punished by God.
Well, I was just thinking about the history of Haiti, because they've had a history of revolution. Every 20, 25 years, going back to the days of Napoleon, the Haitian people have had to revolt, and more lately we know about Papa Doc and Baby Doc and so forth. But there's a rich history, and they stand alone as a nation that fought a white nation.
Of course.
Do you think that can be replicated in places like Nigeria, where they can take off the shackles and allow their communities to grow and put in check the corporate power structure?
Yeah, of course. Haiti is a good example of how black people stood up. There was brothers who were taken into slave from the Yoruba land in Nigeria, and they came here. They fought against French and conquered and took over the island. As you can recall, even the land of Louisiana, the purchase of Louisiana, was sold to the Americans by the Haitians. Nobody knows that Louisiana was part of Haiti. When they talk about Creole, Creole is not just color, it's an ethnic group of people. Haitians are Creoles. That's where Creoles actually came from. And today we have, and you look at what happened in Louisiana, the raft that got broken and water took over the whole place and chased a lot of black people out. Now black people don't own that land. They don't stay there. We have other kind of people staying there now. Is that a conspiracy too, to chase them out? Those are the kind of questions we need to start asking.
Well, what you've done is you've made a beautiful connection between the diaspora, and so that explains, because some of those people that came from Nigeria went to Haiti to Louisiana Purchase, and now here we are in the south of this.
Exactly.
And then we're on the east.
It's all one and the same. We're all one. You can see that the history all connects. It's all intertwined. And my job, and even people of the Niger Delta, they call brothers nigger. Nigger is just a way to say Niger. They couldn't pronounce the word Niger because it's Niger. It's Nigeria, Nigeria, Niger area. The area that took a lot of Nigerians. That's what it's called, nigger. Nigger area. We're not niggers, we're just Niger people.
Yeah.
A lot of brothers and sisters in America come from that area, Niger. That's why they call them niggers, the niggers.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's take it a step further then, because the cradle of civilization is in an African, on the African continent. So what happens is that you wind up seeing that maybe there are Europeans that are related.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. You know, the bottom line of this whole thing is that we need to unite ourselves. Brothers and sisters here need to call for the emancipation of Nigeria. They need to talk to the oil companies to develop the regions. I'm going to go back to Ebroimi to attend a court hearing that I'm taking some of my own cousins, my own indigenes in my hometown to court to surrender all the accountability of all the millions of dollars they've collected from the oil companies without development. The case is in a court in Ogara in Delta State, coming up on the 29th of March. Next month, and I intend to be there as one of the plaintiffs, taking Chevron, Shell, and some unscrupulous brothers and sisters of mine to court to redeem and help the people. We are the elders. The elders have united and come together that we're going to take our destiny in our hands.
Do you think that this issue with the Nigerian with the underwear who had the bombs in it, maybe just to throw us off from the real issues?
Well, there's no doubt about that. Like I mentioned earlier, Nigeria is a peace-loving country. We cannot do all that kind of thing. There was some question mark. An Indian guy who was interviewed in Amsterdam who said, allow this guy into the plane without passport. And that guy has been linked to the Indian intelligence. They said CIA is linked up to it. Mossad of Israel is linked to it. What is going on? What do we don't know? The father of this young fellow has been talking to the CIA in Nigeria. Why don't you talk to your son first instead of going to talk to the CIA first? Are they in conspiracy against all of us? More questions need to be answered.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful opportunity to take kind of a travel from here, the Bay Area, Oakland, to Africa, to Nigeria, to Haiti, to Louisiana. And I want to thank you for giving us an update and look forward to our next update with you, Tunde, and continued good luck to you.
Thank you very much. I'll be back as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Michael Lange, and I will see you next week. So long.